Hey everyone, this is John from youngpatriots.com. I wanted to speak to you today about the immigration bill that's currently in the Senate and is up for negotiations. This bill is a disaster from start to finish. Not only is it unfair to people like myself who have waited in line and want to move to America legally, it is also a disaster for the American people. And I wanted to highlight some of the reasons why I believe it's a disaster for the American people. First and foremost, the American people should be outraged by some of the comments by politicians about this bill. When I hear Republicans and Republican strategists openly admit on national television that if they do not pass an immigration bill, they will never again win another election, this statement alone should be met with outrage by the people. You do not elect your officials, send them to Washington to pass bills to ensure they win further elections. You send them to Washington to ensure they represent you and work on your behalf. Secondly, people like Jeb Bush, who before the bill is even published is saying this needs to pass. Surely it would be common sense to read a bill and then put your objections or your support behind it. Giving such blanket guarantees saying these bills need to pass is not the way forward, and it's not in America's best interest. However, I've read through some of the bill. It's 1,000 pages long, and I have some objections that I'd like to share with you and to see what you think about them. One of the striking parts of this bill, the bill that's been proposed in the Senate, is there is very little or no mention of any deportations. So, is this bill going to give a blanket amnesty? Now, I know people have a bad feeling about deportations, but should people who are here illegally, who have murdered, raped, or molested children, should they be guaranteed citizenship? There is no mention of them being deported whatsoever. The second part is Marco Rubio has called for legislation before border security to get people to come forward to identify. Again, in the bill there's no mention of what the cutoff date is. So if you get this bill passed and illegals start coming forward, what's to stop a massive flood of immigrants coming across the border and just joining on the blanket amnesty? There is no cutoff date. The second thing is, there is no mention of ICE powers been returned to it to enforce immigration laws going forward. Then there's certain questions. If you buy the John McCain line that these illegals who are here in America are to pick lettuce, that's the type of jobs they want. Now, Marco Rubio said all back taxes must be paid and there'll be fines as well. What happens if they can't pay? Again, there's no answers put forward for these questions. Then lastly, Marco Rubio is looking for two things: an EVerify system and for them to learn English. They both sound great, but the lack of detail behind these plans is quite unbelievable. Firstly, the EVerify system. It sounds great that you have a card and you have to produce this card if you want to work for an employer. Who pays for it? And are you sure you're going to get it passed? After all, you're working with Democrats who won't support voter ID laws. If they won't support voter ID laws, what chance have you got of them supporting an EVerify system? The second thing is, he wants all immigrants to learn English as their first language. Again, a very good and noble proposal, because English is the country of the land. And if immigrants are going to come here, you want them not only to participate in society, and you're in American society, but also to do well for themselves. And English is the language that you do well in. But again, who pays for that? What oversight is there going to be? So for me, I'm against this bill because it's anti-future immigrant and legal immigrant. However, from the American people's point of view, there are several questions that need to be answered, and a lot of meat needs to be put on the bone. I would urge you to contact your local representative and ask some questions and get involved in the process. And make sure that any deal that passes, it has to have two things. It has to secure the border, but most importantly, it has to deal with the immigrant problem for good. In 1986, with the Simpson-Mazzoli plan, 3 million illegal aliens got amnesty. This bill is talking about 11 million, 27 years later. You cannot have another bill needed in 5, 10, 20 years to deal with the same problem. It needs to be dealt with, and it needs to be dealt with now. But it has to be right for the American people. Not for the Republican Party, not for future elections or future candidates' presidential campaigns. It has to be good for America. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you'll continue to support us at youngpatriots.com. God bless.